Hey lovely wild hearts, it's Lisa here. I'm coming in today with our energy reading for the month ahead. So as we come to the end of April, I just want to ask you all how you're feeling. Let me know in the comments below. I hope you're doing well. I feel like now that Mercury's not in the microwave anymore, that we can feel the energy shifting and moving. We've just come out of an eclipse season which was quite intense and ending on a Scorpio full moon. I hope during this period that you've taken good care of yourself and that you've had some intuitive hits and insights and you've been able to release and let go of things that no longer serve you. So I've pulled some cards off camera as I usually do. And before we get started, I'm going to tell you about the decks that I'm using today. So I'm using the Cathy Nichols story card deck. That's one of my favourites. I'm also using the Cozy Witch Tarot deck by Amanda Lovelace. And I'm using Magical Mermaids and Dolphins by Doreen Virtue. That's a very old deck, but I love it. And Believe in Your Own Magic, again by Amanda Lovelace. These are my... and one more, Crazy Sexy Love Notes by Chris Carr. Right, so for those of you that are coming back to my channel, welcome back. Thank you for being here. Can I ask that you subscribe and like the videos? That really helps me get the message out there and find more wild hearts, more highly sensitive souls that are looking for healing and support on their journey as we navigate this thing called life, which can be quite tricky at times. So you'll be helping other people if you do that for me. And if you're new here, my name is Lisa Parks. I'm an intuitive, I'm a writer, I'm very creative, and I help other sensitives, creatives, intuitives unlock their gifts and just love themselves more fiercely. I think we live in a world where we are being conditioned to believe that we need to change, we need to try harder. I think change starts when we decide that we're going to love all of us more fiercely. So it's about accepting where you are in the here and now and allowing yourself to just be who you are. You're lovable just the way you are. Isn't that nice to know? It's very nice to know. So I've lit a candle for us today and we just ask that Spirit guides the reading and that what comes through needs to come through. I've found that since I've been doing these videos, I've always known that I have high intuition, but I've found as I do these videos more and more that my videos are prophetic. So as I look back on the videos that I did, I don't know, 3 or 4 months ago, I can see that my higher self was coming through and trying to give myself messages. So the messages always come through from your higher self, and it's about distinguishing between the voice of your higher self and the voice of fear. Voice of fear wants to keep you small and hold you back. So the way that I do this is through using the cards and through journaling. When you put the pen on the page, then you can channel that energy of that higher self through. So if you'd like to join me today and you've got a journal, then you're very welcome to. And if you get insights as you go along, please feel free to share them with me. And if you don't want to share what you've written in your journal, because obviously it's private, then I would just invite you to pop a little emoji in the comments below, because again, the YouTube algorithm likes that. But I like that as well, because that tells me that the energy that I'm tuning into is resonating with you. And if today's reading doesn't resonate with you, then it's not for you. So don't worry too much. There'll probably be other readings on this channel that are that will help you and support you. And as you all know, I have a whole shop, an Etsy shop, full of actual journals that you can buy, beautiful daisy range, all different colours, and I also have a set of digital journals and online courses, journal startup kit, find your own sparkle, this is my life. These are all journals that I've created with support from me inside them to help you with your healing. Okay, so let's get started with today. What card have we got first of all? Oh, the energy of Frozen. Well, first of all, I'm thinking about Let It Go, which is the song from Frozen. But I'm feeling like this card is tuning in to the part of you that feels stuck and trapped. Look, those birds are in the cage. Now, freeze is one of the 4 trauma responses. We have fight, we have flight, we have freeze, and we have fawn. The parts of us that are frozen are the parts of us that when we were growing up as kids normally, we had to cut off from those parts of us. We had to tune out from them in order to deal or survive the relationship that we had with our parents. Freeze for me is often freeze and fawn are the trauma responses of the family scapegoat normally. So you couldn't be yourself. I don't know, perhaps you were told you were too sensitive, or perhaps you were told you were too much or too loud, or you talk too much. That's what I got told. But now I talk for a living and I help people with my voice. So maybe your voice has been frozen. There's things that you feel that you can't say. There's things that you're frightened to say in case that scares people away, or people will leave you. Do you know what? If what you've got to say makes someone leave, then it makes me wonder why they were there in the first place. So this is about those frozen parts of you. Let's see what else we've got. Let's pop that one down there. What's coming in with frozen? Balance. Yes. You're not triggered. You're triggered. You're not grounded, in your energy. So you're like, your foundations are like a wobbly board. You're trying to surf life, navigate life. It feels wobbly. There's no solid foundations underneath you. And actually, if you are in a freeze response, that's what it will feel like. You will feel insecure. You will feel lost. You will feel alone. You will feel abandoned. You feel rejected. They're all coming from wounds, old wounds that were happening in the past, but they're not happening now. So we get taught that our thoughts create our feelings, but I'm starting to believe that, or I'm starting to discover that actually this wobbliness comes from your nervous system. Your nervous system, which when you were a kid, you had to freeze to keep yourself safe. So we want to say thank you to the part of us that froze and disconnected us from who we really were in order to survive that relationship. But now that's coming in the present moment as an adult, and that's stopping us from living our lives. Like, imagine if you're walking around on these wobbly boards all the time, that you feel like the ground could just slip from underneath you at any point. I mean, he seems to have mastered it, this one here. He's like, wave your hands in the air like you just don't care. But these ones are like gripping onto the tree and they're like, whoa. So in order to ground our energy, we ground our energy by doing somatic healing. We get into the body, we can do breath work, yoga, meditation and mindfulness. I find meditation difficult, although I have just done an hour's worth of meditation before I've come on camera. And before I couldn't meditate because the inner critic in my voice was so loud and so horrible and would make me wrong all the time and judge me and criticise me and make me feel like I was getting it all wrong and I was useless and I was failing. I would journal, and journal was my way of getting back into the body, which is why I rave on about it all the time. Raving like this dude here with his hands in the air. Hands in the air like you just don't care. Scream if you want to go faster. No, we don't want to go faster. We want to slow down. We need to slow down. But no, journaling was the way that I found that I would go in through the mind, journal out all the fears, and then drop down into the body. And you see that unblocks this freeze response. So does moving. Gentle movement when you're frozen, or having another person like me to co-regulate with, is what brings you out of a freeze response. I have an emotional first aid kit, which is full of tools and techniques for bringing you out of your freeze response. It also talks a bit about my journey with recovering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder, which is really childhood trauma, developmental trauma, which leaves you without solid foundation, so you always feel like you're on the wobble all the time, which is horrible, isn't it? It's horrible. And I'm just drawn to the fact that they're not really wearing many clothes. And I know that they're swimming out in the sea or they're surfboarding. But if we bring that into the story that we're telling, when you have been raised in a family where there is no security and safety and love, you are freezing. You are freezing, but you feel naked. Like you don't have protection. You don't have, you know, we wear clothes to protect us, don't we? But you don't have this protection around you. You walk through the world feeling vulnerable and exposed and afraid all the time. Right, let's see what we've got next. Yes, and in order to heal from this, there is a lot of grieving which has to happen. So if you're not crying, you're not grieving, which means you're not healing. So a lot of people that I work with are very good at knowing all the things, so they tend to intellectualize it. Well, that's happening because of that, and that happens because of that, and that was because of that. And I've done that myself before, but actually we need to drop down into the body and feel the loss. So can you see how the frozen part of us is protecting us from that grief? It's going, I'm going to protect you from all that hurt and pain that you felt as a child. I'm so sorry that happened to you. But adult you needs to come in and say, but that's not happening now. But we do need to acknowledge that that happened and that we lost parts of ourselves, that parts of ourselves were frozen, that maybe we don't know who we are and we're still trying to work that out, that we lost the connection with our truth, with our version of reality. If you grew up in a home which was stormy, that's what I'm reminding you of. It's the emotional storms. A parent who was dysregulated all the time, who didn't know how to regulate their own feelings and didn't bother to learn because they didn't think that there was a problem. In fact, parents like that normally cling on to their children. Look, they're out of balance because they're emotionally dysregulated. They don't cling on to the tree, they cling on to their children. They need their children to emotionally regulate them, and that's what we call a codependent relationship. So a parent that's saying, well, I can't be happy unless you're happy. How much pressure does that put on you as a child if you've had a parent that says that to you? And it's impossible to make another happy. We are just responsible for our own happiness. But as children, we had to cut off from our joy and our happiness and our true selves in order to regulate that stormy parent. So this is a parent who would have been very emotionally volatile, whether they were angry and rageful or emotionally violent, we would call them, or whether they were fearful and timid and anxious and tearful. And they came to you as their little counsellor and they wanted you to make it all better for them. They wanted you to talk it through with them. Perhaps they crossed boundaries and they shared with you intimate details about your other parent. I see this a lot in families, and it's boundary breaking and it does a lot of damage to the children. But whatever was going on, you were brought up in a house where there was a lot of, and you know, notice how this storminess, how these clouds are just in the background, lurking in the background. They could appear at any moment, which is what is frightening for you as a kid. And of course, you can't regulate your own feelings as a child. You've got to cling on to something or feel all wobbly. And in children, this manifests as anxiety, really, of anxiety, of fear. When I was a child, it manifested as like OCD type behaviours where I was trying to get everything perfect all the time. I was frightened of getting things wrong. But it was always in the background, and I never knew when that storm was going to erupt. And so I was constantly on the lookout for danger. Notice how we are actually storytelling with the cards. Storytelling with the cards because we can journal on these points as we talk about them. And if I'm talking and something resonates with you, you feel something strong in your body. You might feel tightness in your chest. You might want to cry. You might feel heaviness in your stomach. Don't push that feeling away. Be there for that inner child. I'm here for you now. I'm here for you now. You can hold on to me. You're that strong tree with strong roots in the ground. I'm here for you now. I'm going to help you keep your balance. You don't have to freeze and push away those feelings that you had in order to keep your parent happy. So this card is, the owl is the card of your intuition, the card of your higher self. So what you lost was the connection with who you really are. And that is what we are trying to discover when we're healing. We're trying to work out who we are. We're in darkness, notice. There is a light on up there in that top floor. but your intuition is in darkness. And the way back to your intuition is through the body and through the feelings, and being honest about how you say, I'm pissed off about that, or I'm angry about that, or I don't like that, or that's frightening me. And it's okay to have all of your feelings. They're all absolutely okay. But the loss of, when you get in contact with your intuition, the loss of recognizing that there are frozen and lost parts of you that weren't developed, that were frozen in time, as it were, as a child, will bring huge tears. But, part of loss is also anger and denial and bartering, where you go, oh, was it really that bad? Well, sometimes they were nice. And I'm thinking it's a mum because it's a woman here, but this also could represent you as a woman. But there is a loss of self. There is a loss of self, and it's about finding your way back home. And that's why I like to journal, because as you journal, the voice of your higher self comes through. It comes through, and you get to contact that part of you that knows what's good for you, that knows what you want, that knows what you desire, that knows what you need, that listens to your feelings. I have a whole course which is called You Got the Love. It was named after the song by Candy Staton, which is the theme tune to Sex and the City. You do know that song? It's a brilliant song. But You Got the Love is about getting back in touch with this wisdom, this innate wisdom of your body, of your higher self that knows what's good for you. And it is about learning to love all of you, especially loving those parts of you that were frozen and cut off. If someone told you you were too angry or you were too sensitive or whatever, that's a lack in them, not a lack in you. And those parts can come back to life now. It's safe for them to come back online. It's safe for you to be who you are. It's okay. It's all right. Let's have a look at the last one. I've also pulled some tarot cards to sort of cement these messages. So if we've got time, we could have a look at the unity, coming, all those parts of you integrating into a whole, into you as one person. So that you're not blown about by every breeze. You're not clinging on to people and saying, please don't leave me. You're not feeling like you're needy if you've got feelings and emotions. You're recognising that you're allowed to have needs. You're allowed to have feelings. Who you are is okay. It's safe to be you. There's a real peacefulness about this unity, isn't there? About this coming back into wholeness. It's calm, it's peaceful. There isn't all the chaos of this storm. This stormy card feels dark, lonely, hopeless. It feels full of despair. And it may have felt like that when you were a child. And obviously you didn't want to feel all those feelings because they were too overwhelming. So you cut them off. What I did as a child was I cut off from my anger. It was shamed, my anger. So if anything is shamed as a child, that shows up now as a freeze response. Like that part of you feels stuck, feels like it can't talk, feels like it's not allowed, it's forbidden, it's wrong, it's dangerous, it's not okay. So I froze my anger, but in freezing my anger, I was accepting of the abuse that was happening. Now I had to take that as a kid. Because I didn't have a choice. I couldn't leave as a child. I was dependent on those people for my, to feed me, to clothe me, to keep me warm. So I had to cut off from that part of me that wanted to fight back, that healthy fight response that wanted to say, no, stop. I don't want you to hit me. I don't want you to call me names. I don't want you to send me to my room. Please stop. But I had to bury that deep inside of me and take it. In order to get food, in order to get love, in order to be part of the family and belong. So you may well feel that as you come back into unity, into wholeness, as you integrate parts of yourself, that feels unsafe, that you feel like you're being disloyal to your family, or somehow you feel that it's not okay. And it might feel frightening and scary, but then it's on you to say to your inner child, hold on to me, I've got you. Hold on to me, I've got you. I will keep you safe now. And it's about developing enough of your adult self, so your adult self becomes bigger than your inner child, so that you can reparent, we call it reparenting, and take care of your inner child. Wow, those cards are really, really powerful. So I can see in the month of May that this is about getting really honest. It's about unfreezing, tapping into, connecting to those lost and frozen parts of you. Some of the coping strategies I've developed as well was also trying harder. So instead of thinking, God, my parents being really cruel and unkind to me when I was a kid, I couldn't think that because I didn't feel safe. So instead I would think, oh, it must be something I'm doing wrong, and we blame ourselves and make ourselves wrong. And then I thought, well, I have to try harder. I have to try harder. So to heal this pattern, I have to stop trying to please other people, back to the people pleasing. And I have to allow this part of me that tried too hard and was working, being a helper, being a good girl, trying to do everything perfectly and right all the time. I have to let her die. I have to say thank you to her for keeping me alive, but I have to let her die, let her go. And in letting her go, I will realise that that was a huge loss, and that was really unfair and deeply, deeply painful, what I had to go through. So I've got some tarot cards. So if you want to carry on, that's the month's message. But if you want to carry on with me, I'm going to do some tarot cards now. Let me have a slurp of my tea and see what comes up for the tarot cards. I'm going to leave all these down here. Right, let's have a look. What have we got to go with Frozen? Oh, look, there's me in my room as a child, just lying on my bed. That wallpaper's not dissimilar to the wallpaper in my room. It was pastel coloured, but that's what it's reminding me of. And I used to just, you see, that's what I used to do. I just used to hang on my bed and dissociate, which is what the freeze response is, until I fell asleep, or I'd cry myself to sleep, or until the next day when I'd creep downstairs and I didn't know if it was safe to come down. So this is called the patient witch. And actually, I think if you can relate to this freeze response, we are very patient and tolerant of other people's shitty behaviour. The patient witch says, learn to get comfortable with sitting still whenever necessary. Yeah. So it's hard for you. So to avoid feeling the feelings that would have come up when you were a child. So for me, it was being shut in my room. I just keep busy all the time. I keep doing things. I'm going back to that trying harder. You don't need to do that anymore. No one's going to punish you. No one's going to lock you in your room. You're your own person now. In fact, you can leave the room. You're free. See, look, the birds are trapped in the cage because they don't realise that they're free. But you're free now. You're free now. You can leave. You can get up and leave. That's what the stuck feeling is. When you were a child, you couldn't escape, you couldn't leave. So you have to kind of show yourself that you can now. That's why I was saying a way to get out of the freeze response is to move your body. In my emotional first aid kit, I talk about bilateral stimulation. Just walk and swing your arms from one side of your body to the other. Gentle walking, dance, rocking, swaying. If you know what EFT is, tapping, there's some tapping exercises in there. All of those things to bring you back into the body. And then when you come back into the body, then you will start to be able to grieve and be honest about what happened to you and how you really felt. So you've got to get still and listen to the body. Just take a moment now to close your eyes and go inside your body. And notice if you feel any tightness, any heaviness. Or maybe you feel like fluttery butterflies in your chest. Perhaps your breathing is short. Notice if there's any tension in your jaw. We tend to hold on to things in our jaw and clench. Just be aware of what's going on in your body. And then just breathe into that feeling. Don't try and push it away. Breathe into it. Be with it. Be present for it. Oh, look what we've got here. The 9 of Wands. It would take a hell of a lot more to defeat you. Yes, this is about standing your ground. Oh my goodness, that goes with the Balance card. What do you know? Stand your ground. Be grounded in your body. Be firm in your truth. Don't be afraid to be who you are. Take up space in the room. Don't apologise for being here. But in order to be grounded, look at her. She's candle gazing. So you can do that. You can light a candle like the one I've got here and just watch the flame dancing. It's about being present, being mindful, being here, being now. That's how you stay grounded in your body. Another thing I like to do is just feel my feet on the ground, wiggle my toes, perhaps give myself a hug, pat my arms, stroke my hair, stroke my face. Be here now, be here now. It's not happening. It was happening in the past. It's not happening now. That is what Pete Walker describes as an emotional flashback. When you go back to the past and you think the past is happening now in the present. And when we think about flashbacks, we think about soldiers coming back from war with PTSD that have visual components of the flashback in their mind. These flashbacks don't have visual components. They actually are just sensations in your body. You feel the shame, you feel the abandonment, you feel the loneliness, you feel the lost parts of you. Just let all that be. And if you can't be with it all, I mean, your body will only give you what it can handle at once because it's very clever like that. That's why we go into denial, to protect ourselves from all of the pain at once. But if it's too hard, then book an appointment with me or go and speak to your therapist about it, because your therapist will be able to help you with your emotional flashbacks. Oh, look at that. Look at that. You've got two people standing on the shore. But look, this one is in the dark storms. This one has got the twinkly magic of a full cup. She's filled her cup up, so she loves herself now. She loves all the parts of herself, even the parts that were abandoned, shamed, told they were too much, too angry, too whatever, or not enough, or feel like they're not enough. That's the opposite end of the spectrum. Page of Cups. Let yourself be continually surprised by this thing called life. Oh, isn't that lovely? So, in letting go of what was, you create a space, which is the unknown. And it's like, oh, what's going to come in? But as sure as eggs, that's going to change, because as sure as that sea will come back and crash to the shore, is as sure as that emotional flashback will pass. And as you heal, something new will come into that space. Notice how she's feeling the sand beneath her feet, so she's grounded. That's another way to ground your energy, feeling your feet, bare feet on the grass or on the sand if you're lucky enough to live by the seaside. Oh, let me know if anyone listening lives by the seaside. I would love to live by the seaside. Look, got the seaside there as well. In loving yourself, you bring all those parts back in and become whole again. You stand as one in your own body, feeling safe and secure and loved and cared for. So here we've got the page of, the Knight of Pentacles. Slowly but surely you're going places. Yes, it is a slow process, because when we have trauma from childhood, the reason we have trauma is because things happen too fast, too soon. Everything came rushing in and there was no support there and no one to help us and no escape. Now we have to go slowly. So it is about, I think I said that earlier on, it is about slowing down. So if you feel that your messages in your mind make you want to speed up, like when there's a sense of urgency around something, when you're feeling like, oh my God, I've got to work harder, I've got to earn more money to pay the bills, or oh my God, I need to text that person because they haven't texted me back. And then when you go into that space of urgency, that's when you know you've been triggered. That's when you know you're having an emotional flashback. That's when you're flashing back to a really young part of you that is scared of losing the connection with your parents, so you end up trying harder. No. You just keep going slowly at your own pace. Nothing's that urgent, is it? Nothing needs to be done yesterday. But we live in a culture that asks us to speed up. Have 10 browsers open, have a phone, have an iPad, and put the TV on. Have a pile of books on the table that you don't read. I'm talking about myself now. I don't actually know what that is in her. She's got the pentacles in a box. Pentacles are, they represent coins, money, but they're also a very earthy energy. So again, she's earthing, she's grounding herself. She's not going to speed up. She's going to listen to her body and go at her own pace. Oh, there it is. There's your cup of love. The Ace of Cups is about self-love. Do you feel that in your heart? That's potential, dear. Yeah, so this is about tuning into your body, listening to your feelings, following your heart. It takes great courage. The word courage comes from the French word cœur, which is heart. It takes great courage, like the lion in The Wizard of Oz, to follow your heart, to be who you are, in a world that's telling you that you should conform and fall into line. But if you're a little rebel like me, you're not going to listen to that. Hopefully not. Let me know if you're... Drop me a heart emoji in the comments below if you're feeling rebellious and you want to slow down when everyone's speeding up and you feel like you want to make your own way in the world, that this world is... you don't like the way the world is, so you're going to live it on your own terms. We got another Pentacles here. See all this earth energy coming in to earth and ground you during the month of May. When life gives you lemons, make enchanted lemonade. So it's saying, I feel like this is saying, accept what you have in the moment. It's so much easier. The reason we get so upset about things is because they haven't turned out the way we want them to. But if we can just accept they are the way they are, even if they aren't what we want them to, again, that brings us back into the present moment. It's all about being in the present moment. And, you know, you might not be able to see the lesson or see the good when you're in amongst all this loss and healing. Sometimes that's very difficult. But maybe some of you who are listening are getting to the point where you can go, do you know what, that didn't work out because it's not for me and there's something better on the horizon. So I don't know if that's for you today. Right, we've got a couple more cards here. Oh, yes, look at that. The sun. Oh, my God. The protagonist in my new book is called Dolly Sunflower. So that's reminding me of that. Give yourself permission to experience joy. Yeah, you got to let the good stuff in. When you were a kid and you were holding all of your parents' pain and trauma, which is what they got you to do, not consciously, of course, they didn't do it because they wanted to hurt you, I hope. I think they did it unconsciously. It's passed on, the pain, from generation to generation. But look at her peeking out from behind the sunflower. Let yourself shine. Let yourself feel the sun on your face. Sunflowers always point towards the sun. Look for the good stuff. And in order to look for the good stuff, you've got to be in your body and be in the present moment. Maybe be out in nature, go out for a walk. Notice the good stuff around you. So let me just have a slurp of my tea because it's going cold. In my new journal that I made called This Is My Life, I'll put a link in the comments below. I'm getting you to focus on the good and moving future thinking, like moving forward and creating your dreams. So This Is My Life journal is for those of you that have done the grieving, that feels like you've done the loss part. I mean, we're always doing it. I think it's cyclical. Like you go around in circles, and every time you peel off another layer, you go deeper into those feelings. So you may feel like you keep hitting up against the same block, but you're not, because you've already, you've got to look back at how far you've come instead of not looking forward and thinking, oh, I'm not where I want to be, because I've done that too, and it makes you feel rubbish. And actually, you are where you are. I'm 50, and I'm not where I thought I'd be at 50. But when I actually sit down and count my blessings, I'm incredibly lucky to be where I am, given where I started out in life. So this is about, and you know what? The sun is also the inner child card in the tarot. So I feel like this is saying to your inner child, it's time now to pay attention to me, to get back in your body and listen to the feelings. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of them. They come and go like waves, right? When you're in touch with your feelings, they just come and go like waves on the shore. Out they go, in they come, in through the body, give you a message, and out they go again. Whereas your experience of feelings growing up was this great big emotional storm, which felt out of control and terrifying as a child. It's not like that anymore. That's not happening anymore. You can just simply use your breath, ground your energy, to just let those feelings come in and out. That's beautiful, isn't it? Last one. The Nine of Swords. We all get a bit carried away with our worries. Yeah, this is about facing your fears, right? So who lies in bed at 3 o'clock in the morning thinking that all those daggers are going to fall on their head? Catastrophizing and thinking the worst thing is going to happen. Me? I've done it myself. You know, you go from 1 minute thinking, oh God, I can't afford to pay my bills this month, to thinking, oh crikey, I'm going to be homeless on the streets. That's not happening if you stay in the present moment. So when we're catastrophizing, when we're thinking worst case scenario, when we're down on ourselves and we don't believe in ourselves and we don't see the good, then we're having an emotional flashback. Whenever this happens to me during the night, do you know what I do? I get up and I go for a pee, or I get myself a glass of water. I shake my body, I release that energy, and then I go back to bed. And sometimes I'll put like some nice music on or something, and like it's almost like you're doing an energy reset. So there's a lot of working with your energy this month that can be done. So working with the body, being in the body, and just recognizing that the past is not happening now. So I've got a couple more cards to finish off with that are going to help us. So I asked the card deck what we needed at this moment in time and what the outcome would be. So the outcome was the treasure chest. So this is abundance. Now, abundance can be love, it can be money, but it can also be healing and peace. Like if you don't want to live like this in this chaotic, unbalanced energy, at the end of you paying attention to your inner child and being in your body and recognizing who you are, is this bright light, this loving energy. This is you coming home to yourself. This is the outcome of you taking the time to put yourself first and be in your body. And I like the way it says it's unforeseen, because I think it creeps up on you. Like you slowly do the work, you do a little bit every day and step by step. And then you look back and then you think, oh, well, I'm not that person anymore. Look how far I've come. Now, what do we need in order to get there? Well, notice the blessings. That's what I said. So it's about focusing on the good. And as I say, if you fancy my new journal, this is My Life, it's called. That comes from the Billy Joel song. I don't know if you remember him from the 80s. He sung, I don't care what you say anymore, this is my life. It's about saying, I'm not going to be that child anymore. I'm not going to sit there and hold all your trauma for you, mum and dad. I'm not going to do all the hard work for you. I'm going to let that go. And I'm going to focus on my life and my dreams and what's good in my life, in the here and now. Let's just see what it says on the other side of this card. Some people might not like the word gratitude. If you find it hard to say I'm grateful for, just say, oh, I love this about my life. Like the other day I was thinking, oh, I love it that I can have a hot shower. Or I love it that I can just switch on the kettle and have a cup of tea. Just little things. Gratitude puts us in a position of having instead of wanting. Yes, it's being in the here and now, not regretting what happened in the past or wishing for something to come in the future, because then you're coming from a place of lack. Thanking rather than complaining. Yeah. Do you know what? Whenever you complain, and this is not to shame anyone or judge anyone, because we all complain as human beings, because life can be pretty crappy sometimes. Whatever you complain about is a signal of where you need to set boundaries. Like if you find yourself keep complaining about the same thing, there needs to be a boundary there. When we focus on what we already have and take stock of our blessings, we get more blessings. What are you grateful for? Share it with yourself and others. Yeah, so do you want to write in the comments what you're grateful for today and put a little butterfly in, so you can say to the universe, oh, I'm so grateful for this. Try and think of 3 things that you're grateful for. And then the other thing that came up is forgiveness. Now, this is also a very contentious subject, because I don't think you need to forgive your parents in order to heal. Other spiritual guides may tell you that you do. I feel like this puts shame on you if you can't forgive, because awful things were done to people growing up. Awful things which I deem as unforgivable. But let's just reframe what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is about loving yourself in spite of what happened. So, this kid that had to freeze itself, that's full of shame in order to survive, thank her, be grateful for her. She didn't know what she was doing. She did that unconsciously. I mean, maybe you will get to a point where you can forgive your parents. I think I have compassion for my parents' inner child. I understand that their inner child is hurting, but that doesn't excuse what they did to me as an adult. So again, I'm not holding a grudge against them, but I'm also, for my inner child, being the adult that stands up and says, no, I'm not going to be treated like that anymore. But this forgiveness is about letting go, releasing the guilt and the blame. It wasn't yours to carry. It's not your fault. And releasing any judgment you have about what you may have done in the past when you were in survival mode still. And releasing the hurt. You don't have to carry the pain around anymore. Let it go. Let it go. This is really about having compassion again for that inner child. Loving all the parts of you. Loving all the parts of you, even the parts of you that you're not proud of. But you didn't have a choice when you were a child. It wasn't your fault. You didn't have a choice. You had to go into this space to survive. So I think we can all be kind and forgive ourselves today. If you feel ready to forgive yourself, to stop judging yourself, to offer yourself loving kindness, drop me a heart in the comments below. I also think it's time to stop punishing yourself. Because if you don't love this part of you that was frozen, that means you carry self-hatred in your body, and that means that you will punish yourself. And the reason you do that is because you were probably punished as a child. So you've been taught to love yourself by punishing yourself when things go wrong, or by starving yourself or restricting yourself in some way, or by making yourself work harder and harder. You don't need to do that anymore. You don't need to give yourself grace. Give yourself the grace that your parents weren't able to give you. Let yourself make mistakes. Let yourself sit on the sofa and relax all day. Have a day off. Have a day off from life. Life is busy and hectic and tiring. Let yourself have a day off. Let me know if you're going to give yourself a day off. I would love you to. Something else that came up for me as well in that card is, in being this child that had to sacrifice who they were in order to receive love, I now want you to stop sacrificing yourself for other people. Any of you who are sacrificing yourself, it's time to let the joy and the love come in for you now. You do not have to set yourself on fire to keep other people warm. I want you to be there for you now, over being there for other people, and that is not selfish. That is self-love. Okay? So that is our reading for May. I hope you found it helpful. As I say, I'll pop all the links for the ways that you can work with me and the resources and courses and journals that I've got that can support you on your healing journey. And I hope you have a wonderful month, and I hope you choose you and you love yourself more fiercely than you've ever done before. I'll see you again soon. Bye for now.